introduce you to Skeleton Woman, and this is one of her stories. Now, Skeleton Woman, she starts off as a lady who seemed to be living a very full life, but then the local people said something happened, but they didn't know what it was, and she was taken to the top of the cliffs, and her father threw her over. And then she spent the time underneath the waves and the currents at the bottom of the sea, where her flesh faded away. And the local people said, this inlet where she is and where she lays is haunted, and no one will just go there until one day a fisherman's kayak strayed into the very inlet where Skeleton Woman lay. He was happily fishing. But guess what? As his hook went down into the sea, he got the hook into Skeleton Woman's ribcage. Now, he was quite happy at the top here now. His line was beginning to tug, his kayak shook, and the sea was raged to a thrashing froth. But can you imagine? He went through, oh, I've got a big fish here. How much money is it going to make me? But then, when he got the line in, to his horror, what did he see? The bald head of a Skeleton Woman. Ah! Cried the man, and he tried to push her off his rod, and then he panicked, and he started to paddle back to the shore. But all the time, Skeleton Woman was right there with him. He got out of his kayak and started to run home, and all he could hear behind him was bumpety bump, bumpety bump. Skeleton Woman was keeping right up with him. He got to his home, but it was now beginning to get dark, and he ran through his little snow tunnel and landed on his floor. And he sat there in despair, puffing and panting. Oh, thank God, I'm so safe, I'm so safe. But can you imagine when he lit his oil lamp? There it was. Skeleton Woman on his floor. Ah! Cried the man. But this time he decided that he was just going to continue to light his fire and have something to eat. And he couldn't say what it was, but later he felt a lot of compassion and kindness for Skeleton Woman. And he started to work on her and untangle her from his fishing line and put her body back as a full skeleton and human being should be. He spoke very kindly to her. Oh, no. Oh, no. And after all was complete, he then felt very drowsy, and he got onto his covers and fell asleep. Now, when you fall asleep sometimes, the dreamer can have a tear that reaches up to their eyes. And this indeed is what happened to the man. And Skeleton Woman saw this, and she felt compassion. And she got up and she climbed over to the man and put her mouth to his tears. And she drank and drank and drank away all his tears. And also her own thirst was quenched. She then put her slender, bony hand on the man's heart and felt it beat. Boom, boom, boom. And she started to sing out, flesh, 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 and her body filled with flesh. She then got onto the covers with the man, and the next morning they awoke from their night, now entangled in a long, loving relationship. No one actually knows what happened to the man or woman, but what they do know is that they were well cared for and well provided for, and they had many years of a happy life. This is what the people say, and this is all they know. The story of Skeleton Woman.